You had asked me about what I have learned about God, and that's a very hard question to answer, because I think God is very complex to understand, especially for us, with our frame of mind. Recently, I had mentioned a story. And I said, God reminds me a little bit of this particular instance. You had a king riding on an elephant coming through a blind village, and a king was riding to a village on an elephant, and he was coming to a blind village. And in the blind village, they had never seen an elephant, and so the villagers asked to be able to. They asked to be able to feel and touch the elephant so that they would have an understanding of what the elephant is. Somebody grabbed the tail and had the impression that the elephant is a thin, delicate, hairy beast. Somebody else grabbed the trunk, water came out, and they said it's like a big hose with a lot of powerful water coming out on the other end. Somebody grabbed the foot, and while grabbing the foot, the person then reflected and said, the elephant is like a pillar, strong and powerful and immovable. And yet another one was riding on the back of the elephant and said it was like the elephant is like a moving mountain. And I think that is the concept with God. It is sometimes very difficult to categorize God into maybe a handful of things, but nevertheless, I think what I have learned about God is I believe that God has created us. I believe that God has a personal interest in each human being, and he has an interest in what he actually created. He was intentional. And because of all of this, I think it reflects the fact that he's a very loving God. I think we have sometimes, even in the Christian, in the history of the Christian church, we have depicted God not necessarily as somebody who's a loving God. At the same time, there's also a sense that God is the God of the universe, and so that there is a sense of a magnitude that is quite hard to put into. It's hard to put into words, I think. But one thing is, I would say, God is a loving God. God takes interest. God is interested in a personal relationship, but also God is a very if we take Scripture, if we take some of the examples of some people, if we take Moses, for example, as a indicator, the glory of God is something that made him appear very different in front of his people after seeing God. So there is a greatness about God that is difficult to perhaps put into words. But there's a relation of God. There's a greatness about God, and I think those are some things that I have learned on a personal level.